Let's talk about the most popular type of insurance in the world, auto insurance. Here is Auto Insurance 101 and what most people buy. First and foremost, on every auto insurance policy and quote you'll ever get, you'll see bodily injury liability coverage listed. What is bodily injury liability? Well, it pays when you are legally liable for injury or death caused by your vehicle when you are at fault for the accident. Legal fees and court costs are also included. It pays up to the first limit for each person and up to the second limit total for all injury in the accident for which you are legally liable. California state required limits are only $15,000 per person and $30,000 total bodily injury per accident, meaning if you hit a car with 3 people in it, each person can get a maximum of $15,000. The insurance company will pay out a maximum of $30,000 for all people involved. All right, and the second is property damage liability. This is the second thing included on all quotes, and this pays when you are legally liable for damage to the property of others caused by your vehicle, meaning you hit somebody else, where you hit a wall, you hit a tree, you hit a house, you hit a car. California state required limits are only $5,000 total property damage per accident, meaning if you hit someone's brand new car, your insurance, if you have the minimum, is only going to cover $5,000 total property damage for that accident. Next is combined single limit. This is occasionally referred to as CSL. It means the bodily injury and property damage are combined into one limit without sublimits imposed. It's better thought of as a blanket of liability coverage. It's usually reserved for people getting commercial auto or business auto insurance policies only. It's not really designed for people with personal auto for the vast majority of carriers. Now, this brings us to uninsured motorist, occasionally referred to as UM. This pays damages that you or household relatives and passengers in the insured motor vehicle are legally entitled to recover because of bodily injury and property damage caused by an uninsured or hit and run motor vehicle. So this is when someone hits you and they have no insurance. It pays up to the first limit for any one person, and it's subject to the first limit for any one person up to the second limit for all persons injured or killed in an accident. This could also be a single limit. Again, that's mostly for commercial policies. Now, basically what this is saying, if someone hits you and does not have insurance and you do have uninsured motorist on your policy will pay out for your bodily injuries. Of course, it's limited to the amount of coverage that you have. And if the other person has insurance, then it's going to be a different coverage entirely. This next part is underinsured motorist. This is what I was referring to earlier. This basically is the same as uninsured motorist, but this is when the person that hits you does not have enough coverage to cover your bodily injury or injuries suffered by people in the car with you. So for example, someone has state minimum coverage and you have $1,530 on top of that for underinsured motorist. You can actually get up to $30,000 in that case because both policies would stack, and you would be able to essentially get a little more coverage in the event something happened from an underinsured driver. Next is comprehensive. This is sometimes referred to as other than collision on your declarations pages. This pays for loss or damage to your vehicle caused by fire, theft, vandalism, hail, windstorm, riots, falling objects, floods, etc. The deductible applies to all damage. Does not pay for collision or upset. That's paid under collision coverage, and we'll talk about that one next. But basically what this means is if you have comprehensive coverage, it's going to cover fire, theft, vandalism, hail, windstorm, etc., and you have a deductible. The most popular deductible is $1,000. You can always choose less if you want, but $1,000 is the most common. It's the most popular. The next coverage is collision. This is the exact same as comprehensive in the sense that you have a deductible. The difference is this pays for loss or damage to your vehicle caused by collision with another object or by upset of the vehicle. Payments are made on an actual cash value basis for the amount of each loss. Your deductible applies for this coverage before the coverage applies. Now, what that means is, let's say your car, you bought 2020 Chevy Tahoe, right? So you have a real nice Tahoe, you're involved in an accident. They're of course going to pay out based on the actual cash value of a 2020 Tahoe minus your deductible. So if your deductible is $1,000, which is the most popular deductible, then they would take $1,000 out before they would pay for any coverage. If your vehicle has $10,000 worth of damage and you have $1,000 deductible, the insurance company will pay $9,000. You would pay the $1,000 deductible. Towing and labor costs, this can often be added to your policy. This pays up to the limit on your policy for each claim for towing your vehicle and labor costs, such as changing a tire or jump start at the place of disablement. It does not pay for the parts or subsequent repair costs. So if you blow a motor, they'll tow you to a repair shop, but they're not going to pay for the motor. Rental reimbursement, this coverage pays towards expenses to rent a vehicle if you have a covered loss, comprehensive or collision, so you do have to have comp or collision coverage on your policy, and your vehicle is disabled longer than 24 hours. Usually it's a $600 maximum. The carriers are increasing this coverage limit to $900 for most policies now, but $600 is frequently what's listed. Lease or loan gap coverage. This is additional coverage for your lease or bought auto that provides essentially limits in excess of cash of the actual cash value of the vehicle. So this coverage would apply if the lease agreement or the loan agreement makes the insured liable for the amount greater than the actual cash value of the car at the time of a covered theft or total loss. What that means is, let's say you buy a car and it's a $50,000. We'll stick with the Tahoe. So you buy a Tahoe for 50 grand, you drive it off the lot, it's now worth 45. And let's say you total it. Well, the insurance company is going to pay out the 45,000 because that's what it's worth. If you have gap coverage, the insurance company will pay the difference between what you owe on the vehicle versus what the actual cash value of the policy, or excuse me, of the auto is at that time. So sticking with that, you're looking at the insurance company paying out that extra 5,000. Okay. Medical payments coverage pays per person. It's a per person limit. This pays for medical, hospital, and funeral expenses for you, household relatives, and guest passengers injured in a motor vehicle accident, regardless of fault. This also protects you and household relatives if struck as pedestrians. So for example, let's say that you are involved in an accident. It's your fault for the accident. Medical payments coverage will cover injuries for people that are guest passengers in a motor vehicle accident. Okay. How much coverage do you need? This is the most popular question we get. In California, you're only required to carry $15,000 per person, $30,000 total bodily injury coverage, and $5,000 property damage coverage. That makes you street legal. It's $1535. That's what everyone refers to it as, or they'll say liability only. It's the most popular because it's all you're required to carry. What coverage should I have? We recommend everyone have at least $100,000 bodily injury per person, $300,000 total bodily injury, and $100,000 property damage coverage liability coverage. We recommend that for everybody. You should always carry at least this much coverage. Of course, you can get more. And we recommend that you have 100, 300 uninsured and underinsured motorist coverage. This helps protect your assets in the event of an accident. This will help make sure that you don't lose any future income in the event something were to happen in a claim. What's the cheapest coverage I can get and be street legal? Well, in California, you're only required to carry 15, 30, and 5 coverage. This results in the cheapest overall insurance price. Like I said, it's the most popular as well. What's the cheapest, quote, full coverage, end quote, I can get? $15,000 per person, $30,000 per accident, bodily injury coverage, $5,000 property damage, and $1,000 comp collision deductible. No other coverage is included. This results in the cheapest, quote, full coverage for your own vehicle. This means if your car is involved in an accident, the insurance company will pay for the full damages to your car, and of course will pay the state required liability limits if that's all you purchase as far as the liability portion is concerned. What do most people buy? Number one, most popular is $1535, liability only. It's the most popular, it's the lowest cost option. For number two is people wanting, quote, full coverage on their own vehicle. For that, it's $1535 liability with $1,000 comp and collision deductible and no other coverages included. That's the second most popular. That's for people that want, quote, full coverage but want to get it at the lowest possible price. Number three, for people wanting better coverage, it's 100, 300, 100 liability coverage limits. They can add anything else they want, but that's third most popular. That's when you have assets or future income you want to make sure are protected. And for those with assets, number four, it's 250, 500, 100 liability limits. If you hit somebody, they're going to sue, and you want to make sure you have adequate coverage to cover them. Of course, if you have any additional questions and you want to go over it, please give us a call. Here at Prism Insurance Agency, we're happy to go over it with you. We're happy to give you a quote, and we're happy to have you as a client and to work with you moving forward. Thank you very much for listening. If you have any additional questions, feel free to give us a call or text us at 951-243-2800. Again, 951-243-2800. Thank you.